My first movie is Avatar: Fire and Ash.
Oh,
Have
okay.
you? Do you like the Avatar movies? Have you seen any of the Avatar
I
movies?
saw the first one when it came out, and it was fine, but I'm not like a fan that makes sure to go and see every one.
Yeah, well, this is the third and a very long
Oh,
installment in the Avatar IP franchise. It's 3 hours and 17 minutes.
oh,
And okay, so I'll get right to it. These Avatar movies, and I'm going to talk about them as a whole because each one to me is kind of indistinguishable from the previous one. But right from the start, I think it should be said that these Avatar movies are certainly they're not dismissible by anybody's standards. They're epic in scope, they're dazzlingly photographed and executed, they're financially successful, they're technologically bold and innovative. You can't dismiss them in those regards. And so they are, in the ways I just described, I think they're important additions to film and to the cinematic canon. The problem for me, you kind of you kind of had a little of that in your voice when I asked you if
yeah.
you saw them. And it's always been the case with these Avatar movies is that as stories per se, for me, they're kind of unmemorable, they're unengaging, and as soon as you leave the theater, certainly in terms of character and story, they're forgettable.
Yeah.
And they are films which I have very little desire, because of those reasons, to revisit them. I don't feel like I ever need to see them if I've seen them once. And hardly anybody I know, Kim, certainly professional colleagues and friends who just love movies, ever really talk about them other than to say, oh yeah, I saw the first one and it was okay, or yeah, and I
Hmm.
saw the second one and it was okay. But they're not a part of what I understand to be like the cinematic conversation in a general sense. But
Hmm.
here's the thing: if you love Avatar, nothing I say is going to prevent you from
Hmm.
checking out Fire and Ash in a theater. And I think everybody should see this movie in the theater. The 3D effects are the greatest I've ever seen in any movie. The 3D in this film is unimpeachable. I mean, it's overwhelmingly breathtaking and just stunning. It's jaw-dropping, really. You're watching this, you're going, I can't believe this looks so incredible. And I'm grateful for having. I saw this movie weeks ago at the beginning of December in a stunning presentation, the presentation of which literally took my breath away. But the story, I honestly, I can kind of tell you what the story was, but it was just the same beats repeated over and over. And when I looked at my phone, I wanted to check the time, which is always a bad sign when I'm watching a movie.
Yeah, it
When
should
I
just
looked at
kind of suck you in, and like
right,
all time and space is gone, right?
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I looked at my phone, thinking or believing that this movie was almost over, only to realize that it still had another 2 hours to go. I mean, I was at the hour and 20-minute mark when I looked at my phone to check out the time, and I can't tell you exactly where my brain and where my soul traveled to in that moment. I thought, 2 more hours, I'm going to die. Anyway, so I don't know. For me, these movies have always been frustrating in the ways I described. I think the plots are cluttered, the storytelling's kind of cold. But maybe with the rapid acceleration of AI, this is what movies are eventually moving toward, and what
Yeah.
will become the norm. Provided, of course, that we survive as a species. But if you go to see this movie, go to see it in the theater, because it really, really is an amazing visual experience in the theater. So I'm recommending it. If nothing else, it's huge bang, for your buck at 3 hours and 17 minutes. You really get your money's worth just in terms of length.
Hmm. It sounds. Did you say that everything, like all the visually stunning things about this movie, were created with AI or no?
No, no, I think can't.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I was collapsing that. No,
Okay.
well, the movie reminded me of AI and what AI kind
Hmm.
of looks like. But I think Cameron maintained that there was no A that
Okay.
AI that was just. Oh, one of the other things about these movies I've always gone crazy over, Kim, is that this world of Avatar is supposed to be otherworldly, and it's supposed to be some futuristic race or otherworldly tribe. And the Navi, many of the characters, when they speak, they use these colloquialisms like, "Oh, I'm good, cool. That really sucks, sick, bro, dude," which is so annoyingly pandering to Gen Zers. And that kind of languaging feels and sounds incongruously anachronistic. It's like, what? They don't, these people wouldn't be using those kind of
No.
colloquialisms. Anyway, that's just me personally carping and bitching. But that's another thing I never liked about these movies. Anyway,
I
you
wonder
know,
why it didn't take off. I mean, you have, when you think about these movies that kind of take you to this created world, like
yeah.
Harry Potter does that,
Mm.
and so
Hmm.
does oh, I just had one on the tip of my tongue. Um, I don't know. You have these movies that take you away, and oh,
Lord of the
the
Rings,
Lord
maybe
of the
you
Rings.
mean?
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
And they're amazing, and you don't forget the stories, and you don't forget
Right.
the characters. But these movies, they don't really stand out like that to me.
Yeah, no, they, well, again, I think that's just because of the story and then the way the
Mhm.
story is told. Yeah, the Harry Potter movies, the Lord of the Rings movies, they're just memorable because you just get lost
Yeah.
in the characters and in that particular world. And even though the world of Avatar is pictorially magnificent,
Mhm.
I don't know. I just, oh God, I was just glad to get out of the theater.
Ugh.
Ugh,
All right, well,
yeah.
let's move on. Let's get out of this one. Let's go to Marty Supreme.
Yeah, this is also a dazzling movie too, but in an altogether different sort of way. It's a very good movie too, Marty Supreme. Certainly in terms of film making, but it's not one I enjoyed or particularly liked, mostly because I found everything about it, the situations, the characters, the world that the characters inhabited across the board, I found them unpleasant and unlikable. But anyway, it's a sports drama, this movie, Marty Supreme. It's a sports drama, semi-comedy character study that's loosely inspired by this American table tennis player named Marty Reisman, who, I knew nothing about. Timothy Chalamet plays a character named Marty Mauser, who's this aspiring ping pong champion. So this is essentially like a ping pong drama set in
Yeah.
New York City during the 1950s, where this up and coming and obsequiously obnoxious table tennis star Marty Mauser goes in pursuit of table tennis performance greatness. He's determined to be the best. So extremely well-made movie, razor sharp direction by Josh Safdie of the Safdie brothers, who, by the way, are both singularly directing films these days as opposed to co-directing. Benny having directed the pro wrestling drama that we talked about on your show, the Smashing Machine with Dwayne Johnson this year, which we recently talked about. Anyway,
Yeah.
but back to Marty Supreme. Objectively speaking, I cannot find anything wrong with this movie. It's very cinematic for its nearly 2 hour and a half running time. It flies by. It's an interesting character study. The film editing is impeccable. The music score is kind of inventively evocative of the 80s. I just had difficulty stomaching it. It's a space and a time and an environment which is, in one sense, it's beautifully evoked, beautifully rendered, but to me it was all so unsavory. The characters were cruel. They were all around unpleasant and just unnerving. So it was just not to my taste.
Mhm.
And the story of this unlikable, manipulative, amoral ping pong player, it just left me with a sour taste in my mouth. And the question, like, well, why am I watching this and why tell this story at all? And, Timothy Chalamet, I mean, he's an actor on everybody's lips these days, but he's an actor that to me still hasn't figured out that to create a compellingly believable character, instead of boasting about all the research and the prep and immersion that you do, he really should start to ponder the idea of letting go of all that prep and work that went behind the character so that it becomes invisible to the audience. Lately, especially with this and that Bob Dylan movie that he did last year, his screen characterizations are more impersonations than immersions in a believable character. And in my opinion, that's becoming a problem for him as an actor. And in my opinion, is the big problem here. His he kept announcing that he was acting, and that just took me out of the movie and the character, because it really is a showcase for his talents. Anyway, that's my take on Marty Supreme. I think it's a really good movie if you enjoy unsavoriness of character and plot and storytelling. I didn't like the film at all, personally.
Okay. Is this thing on?
Yeah, well, good question. Yeah, and this movie made me cranky. It's co-written, directed, and features Bradley Cooper in a supporting role. And it just made me wonder why and how Bradley Cooper is still allowed to continue directing movies. He should just stick to acting.
Oh.
But anyway, this is about a couple, very nicely played by Will Arnett and Laura Dern. They've been married like 20 years, but for reasons which we learned throughout the course of the movie, they decide to amicably part ways. Mm-hmm. They kind of don't want to, but they really feel like there's nowhere to go in this relationship. And during all of this, the Will Arnett character, who co-wrote the script with Bradley Cooper and another writer, by the way, during the separation process, the Will Arnett character falls into, he kind of discovers that he's kind of good at amateur stand-up comedy when he accidentally stumbles upon an open mic night at a bar he happened to stumble upon one night. The cover charge was $15, and he didn't have the money, but he wanted a drink. But they said, hey, you don't have to pay the cover charge if you agree to go up and, improvise and go up to the mic and do a comedy bit. So, but this movie drove me nuts. It's an unbelievable and ridiculous premise. The amateur stand-up, he's like, oh, look at me. I may be good at this, and I can use material from my divorce as comic fodder. And oh my God, people find me funny and amusing. It's like, right. Like, really, that's going to happen in real life. Anyway, it drove me nuts until the last 18 minutes or so, which I won't spoil. But until the last 18 minutes or so, when it all of a sudden got semi-interesting, and I don't want to say anymore, but for me, with only 12 or so minutes to go, this sudden shift to substance and meaning was just way too little, way too late. So to me, this is an unrealized movie about the pain of relationships that wants to have it both ways. And the ending is this unrealistic one in that after presenting what is a very cynical, albeit semi-truthful view of relationships, it goes for the happy ending. So it's a movie that lacks the courage of the convictions it wants you to believe that it believes, in my opinion. It's just lousy, even for rom-com fans. Although I wouldn't really classify this as a rom-com. It's more of a drom-com. But I say don't bother. Just skip it.
Don't bother.
Just skip it. Yeah.
Oh, what a bummer. It sounded like it could be good, but all right.
It had, well, you know what? I will say that it is worth seeing for the final 20 minutes.
Oh.
But by that point, I just thought, well, at least they're giving me some crumbs, but it's not enough to it was way too little, way too late is what I said. Yeah.
The Testament of Anne Lee.
Yeah, this is some movie. It's a stylized biography of the first leader of the Shakers religious sect. It spans 18th century England and America. Amanda Seyfried excellently portrays the titular protagonist in a film directed by Mona Fastvold, and it's co-written by Brady Corbet, who directed last year's The Brutalists, which we talked about on the show, which I thought was a really overrated movie. But this is a movie that is alternately striking, repetitious, strong, peculiar, ambitious, and like its subject, really fascinating. The real draw here is Amanda Seyfried as Anne Lee, who plays essentially the founder of the Shakers religious sect, known for its religious fervor. Some would say mania of expression, which was manifested or enacted, however you want to say it, in a boisterous and physical display of wailing and flailing of the body while uttering incomprehensible guttural sounds. So the film serves as a kind of a biography, a kind of character study, and also as a kind of musical. And this is where it gets kind of weirdly interesting, because the scenes depicting the group's religious effusions, they're enacted by this professional dance group sometimes singing, sometimes chanting, but moving, always moving with the precision of body movement experts.
Hmm.
So this stylization may turn some people off because at first it's a little jarring. I kind of liked it. Others will probably be drawn into it and drawn deeper into the film and the story it wants to tell by way of it. But yeah, it's an interesting movie. It has excellent period detail. It's got these graphic scenes of Anne Lee giving birth to dead babies. I mean,
Oh God.
she had four children, all of whom died within the year of their birth. But these graphic childbearing scenes, oh, if nothing else, they show you how far civilization is advanced as far as women giving birth is concerned. We've come a long way, and fortunately,
Let's show Julia this movie. That's birth control right there.
oh man, I'll tell you. But
Mhm.
anyway, and Anne Lee herself is kind of interesting. I think she was. I think the film falls on the side of her being a little mentally unstable, but she was an interesting lady. She despised sex and felt that it undermined one's spiritual development. I think she claimed that. She said something like, no one could reach God while wallowing in the lust of the flesh. She says to her husband at one point, and yet she was also a staunch defender of gender and racial equality. So she was a curious mixture.
Mhm.
It's a very artsy kind of movie, Kim. Those not attuned to that approach may find it a bit of a challenge to just engage with it. But I recommend it because, if nothing else, movie biographies, I see a lot of them, and they tend to fall into specific templates that most filmmakers adopt and just repeat. But the overall look and the overall feel of this particular biography, movie biography, is it's certainly it's a different approach, a different way to tell the life story of an historical figure and a woman who, in her very own specific way, made history. So I think it works, and I think it's interesting. It's kind of bold, and yeah, I recommend it. It's really fascinating history.
I didn't realize that this religion, the Shakers, were founded by a woman. And I thought when you talk about things like speaking tongues, that was more Pentecostal, but maybe there's some kind of connection between these two.
Yeah, yes, I think that came out of it. What I found really fascinating about the Shaker religion is that at its peak, I think it was like in 1860. It was founded in the like 1870s, but no, it was founded. No, no, yeah, it was founded in the 1770s, but in 1860, it was at its peak. It only had 6,000 members.
Oh, wow.
So it was never
Very
really,
small.
and then it
Mm.
peaked, and then it just went down. And I think today, I think there's like three or four documented members that actually practice the religion. So it never really went anywhere, but it impacted the culture and the history at the time because they were anti-war. They were sort of misunderstood because it was during the Revolutionary War in America, where the government would want to conscript the men to fight, and they didn't want to fight. And then the women were also perceived as witches and therefore demonic and satanic.
Mhm.
And a lot of violence was, heaped on these women. So, yeah, it's a very, very, very interesting story. But anyway, yeah, you were saying it's the Pentecostal thing. I think that was
Yeah.
just as well an outgrowth of this in some strange way. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to this one, Song Sung Blue.
Yes, you know the song, right?
Song Sung Blue.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, this is a uh, okay. It's a musical comedy drama film that we're told from the get go is based on not only a true story but on a true love story. So you go, oh, okay, might be good. So we've yet another biographical movie here to talk about this week, a biographical musical drama. It's directed by Hustle and Flow's Craig Brewer, and it's about. This is one of the reasons I love movies, because I really, for as many movies as I see, I always learn something. I didn't even know. I didn't even know about what this story dramatized, but it's about Mike and Claire Sardina, who performed as the Neil Diamond tribute band
Okay.
Lightning and Thunder.
Oh.
America's Singing Sweethearts, played by and superlatively played by Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson, respectively. They're a married couple performing as a celebrity impersonator duo, basically. And yeah, and they toured. And but yeah, I'm gonna sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, Kim. But I found this movie by turns kitschy, eye-rolling, shamefully manipulative, and corny as hell.
Oh.
But damned if it wasn't. It wasn't ultimately a great deal of feel-good fun, primarily because of the musical performances and all the Neil Diamond songs that we get to hear throughout this 132-minute movie, which I was astonished to realize had penetrated, all these songs had penetrated my psyche. I couldn't believe I knew all these songs, and I knew all the words to them.
Yep.
You know, the title one, you know, Cherry Cherry, Cracklin' Rose, Holly Holy, I Am, I Said, and of course, Sweet Caroline, which there's a running joke about Sweet Caroline. It's like, that's the only song audiences wanted them to sing because it's such a popular song. But so this is Hollywood's version of the lives of Mike and Claire Sardina. And it's based, I discovered, which I'm going to check this out when I can make some time. It's based on a 2008 Sundance Award-winning documentary of the same name.
Oh, okay.
Which begins, but this is Hollywood's version, and so I think they play fast and loose with some of the facts. But this movie version begins as a kind of light romantic comedy, but then out of the blue it switches to a really dark and tragic drama. But no worries here. It concludes with an ending that is about as uplifting as they come. I mean, if you're not bawling your eyes out, you're ecstatic with joy. So I was painfully aware of the film's blatant emotional manipulation, but very soon into it, I just cried uncle, and I threw up my hands, and I just went with it, and I found it a very highly enjoyable movie. It's a real audience picture. It's very entertaining, with stellar musical and dramatic work from Kate Hudson and Hugh Jackman. I think Kate Hudson was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actress for this. She's incredible. And it features all of Neil Diamond's big hits. I think this would be like a religious experience watching it with an audience. You know, I watched it on my home television on a screening link that they provided for me, but I still found it like really. I mean, it made me feel wonderful, and so I ain't gonna criticize it.
Yvonne says, "I'm from Wisconsin, right? You got to be a little corny." So,
yeah, well, okay. Well,
she said they're from Wisconsin.
They're from Wisconsin. Okay,
Yeah.
well, Yvonne said that. I didn't.
I don't know. I feel like you see a movie like this, you cannot not sing. And probably
oh my God,
need the movie theater singing too, right?
No, well, there's a scene at the end where they do get the audience in the movie to sing. That dollars to donuts. If an audience was watching this, they would be singing along too. I mean, that's how. I mean, in a way, it's artful the way this movie just totally manipulates you. I mean, it really does. And like I say, I always look for those kind of things, and I'm going, oh my God, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're using these kind of mechanics. But like I said, at some point, I just said, oh, I don't care. This movie is funner than hell, you know. So anyway, I really recommend it. It's probably the most entertaining movie of the week, and it opens tomorrow on Christmas Day in theaters.
Opens Christmas Day. Okay. Classic movie recommendation of the week time, and I kind of let the cat out of the bag last week, but we didn't hear what you had to say about the life of Emile Zola.
Yeah, this is a Warner Brothers. God, so many biographical movies we're talking about this week, but it's a biographical classic from 1937 about the life of French novelist Emile Zola, starring Paul Muni, who was he was kind of Hollywood's designated portrayer of great men, great historical figures. He won an Oscar playing Louis Pasteur. He played Benito Juarez. He played Chopin's teacher, Joseph Elsner. He played Napoleon. He played Franz Schubert, the composer, in other films. He was kind of like the Sir Ben Kingsley of his time. Anyway, this movie is about his life with an emphasis on his fight for, in the picture there, the emphasis in the movie was on his fight for the freedom of a framed Jewish officer, Alfred Dreyfus, brilliantly played by Joseph Schildkraut, who won a Best supporting actor Oscar that year for his portrayal. And though it deviates from the facts a bit, it's basically faithful to history. It's very well scripted. It's packed with authentic period details. And for those watching, listening who are unfamiliar, Alfred Dreyfus was a French army officer. He was best known for his central role in what was known as the Dreyfus Affair, which in 1894, was the Dreyfus Affair was a judicial conspiracy in which Dreyfus was wrongfully accused and convicted of being a German spy, but the prosecution of him was riddled with anti-Semitism. He wound up going to, being imprisoned at Devil's Island, and he went through hell. But these are some of the best scenes in the movie. These dramatically brilliant courtroom scenes, which the movies seem to be able to portray better than any other art form. Movie courtroom scenes, when they're well done, like they are in this movie, are just amazing. And it's interesting in the movie too. You never hear uttered the word. You never hear anybody say the word Jew. Undoubtedly, I suspect it was as a result of what was happening to Jews around the world at that time, 1937, what was going on in Germany and stuff. So I think Warner's was sensitive to that. So they carefully never used the word, although it was obvious that this was a anti-Semitic story. So it's a great drama. It's a superb entryway into Emile Zola's life and the history of that period in which he lived and wrote. The movie begins with this anguished Zola being censored by the French government and public for his frank treatment of squalid life and social problems in his novel. He wrote this famous novel called Nana, which was based on his own experiences with a prostitute. So, it was, it was very controversial for its time. But anyway, it's a great historical drama. It's a riveting biography. And actually, now that I think of it, it won the Academy Award for Best Picture of 1937.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, somebody can check that, but I'm pretty sure it won the Oscar that year for Best Movie. Anyway, and it's streaming. Where else? Now on Amazon Prime. People couldn't see it if they've got Amazon Prime.
Okay, I'm just double checking you. I know that you're right. You're always right.
Good.
It won in 1938.
Right, for 1937. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They give out the awards in the following year for the previous year. That's how the Oscars work.
And the man who played the William Dieterle,
William Dieterle actually directed it.
The Oscar for Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, Joseph Schildkraut. Yeah,
that's him. He won the Best Supporting Actor. We got it. Okay. Yeah.
Did you ever see The Diary of Anne Frank?
Yes.
Yeah, that movie. It was a 1959 black and white movie. It was directed by George Stevens. Joseph Schildkraut also played Anne Frank's father in that movie. He always played these dignified, very well composed and carried himself well kind of characters. I always loved him as an actor. Yeah, there he is.
All right, we're gonna here it comes. Avatar. This movie is Fire and Ash. The Avatar Fire and Ash. You said this was a long movie, 3 hours 17 minutes. But if you see it, you said see it in the theater because the 3D is breathtaking and stunning, but the story doesn't stand out here. The visuals are amazing. You recommend it because it's kind of, you said it's bang for your buck with the length of the movie.
Yeah.
You were like, meh. Marty Supreme, this is a ping pong table tennis drama. And I have to say, you didn't love it. You said it's a well-made movie. It's very cinematic, and you couldn't really find anything wrong with it. It just really did not appeal to you. It was with characters that were unsavory and cruel and unpleasant. This whole story left you with a bad taste in your mouth. And you said of Chalamet in this role that it's more of an impersonation than a real character, and the movie wasn't doing it for you, so you're not recommending that one.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
Is this thing on? You didn't love this one either. You said it drove you crazy until the very last part, and then there was a sudden shift to substance, but it was too little, too late. It's a lousy movie. Don't bother with, "Is this thing on?" Skip
Yes,
it.
and in answer to the question, is this thing on? I say absolutely not.
Not on. It's
Yeah.
very off. The Testament of Anne Lee, it's artsy. There's some cool period detail here. You said this movie is striking, fascinating, and ambitious. It has a very interesting stylization. It works because it's interesting and it's bold, but you said there are some graphic childbearing scenes in this movie, so beware of that. That is The Testament of Anne Lee, and you're recommending that. Song Sung Blue, a surprise, but Tim Sika liked this movie, even though he called it kitschy, corny, and emotionally manipulative. He said it's also good fun because of the music in this movie and the performances. You said you submitted to this movie and
Yes.
you liked it. And it's got an
Submitted. Yeah. Yeah.
uplifting ending. You said the movie is fun and it's entertaining and it opens on Christmas Day in theaters. And your classic movie recommendation of the week, The Life of Emile Zola, you said this is a great historical drama. We have confirmed that it did win the Academy Award for Best Picture in 1938. Emile Zola, The Life of Emile Zola, is streaming on Prime Video. So as you're kind of keeping cozy in the rain, keep it in mind. That's Tim Sika's classic movie recommendation of the week. And I have to say, Tim, Merry Christmas to you.
Oh, Merry Christmas to you, and you'll get a nice little break from the show. Nice,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
a 4-day weekend over here.
4-day weekend. Love it. Love it.
Love it. Thank you, Tim
Okay.
Sika. I'm so
Okay,
glad you could
Kim.
make it. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Kim.
Happy
Bye.
holidays. Bye.